So joining us this morning on Morning News Today is Annelian van Wyk. She's the director at Paradigm Coaching. Annelian, thank you very much for your time. Some fascinating information you have for us this morning. We're focusing on substance abuse in the workplace. How big is this problem in South Africa?
Yuvika, substance abuse in the workplace is really prevalent, and the South African social workers in private practice estimate that between 6 and 20% of the South African workforce is drug dependent. Now, most people think this is actually higher, and I tend to agree with this assumption. And purely based on my interactions in the workplace, my work, and I'll tell you now how I come about stumbling on substance abuse and the issues around that. But it is an issue that is swept under the carpet. It's not a topic that people really and readily discuss and share information. There are actually very limited statistics available on what is really going on in the workplace around substance abuse.
So tell us how you came about the information, I mean, in your interactions, and we're not talking about sort of just, you know, any sort of companies. We're looking at from the top down. It's everywhere. It's everywhere,
absolutely. I'm a business coach and a consultant, and I'm very passionate about coaching and work-life balance and everything that goes around that. And in my interactions in the corporate world and seeing clients, I realized more and more the prevalence of substance abuse, and that the issue is swept under the carpet and people are paralyzed and don't know how to deal with it. Now, employers are obligated to deal with substance abuse with regards to the Labour Relations Act, where they have to intervene when a person, for example, is found to be incapacitated as a result of drugs in the workplace. Also, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where a person now needs to look at the safety of the co-workers. However, no amount of regulation can change attitudes and behaviour towards substance abuse, or can force employers to intervene and interact. So a major obstacle that we see is the access to rehabilitation. And I'll give you an example. The most and the biggest problem in the workplace is alcoholism.
Yeah.
A staggering statistic that was actually on the front page of the Business Day earlier this year says the burden of alcohol abuse costs the South African economy 10% of GDP. If you just think and calculate that, no one in the workforce is untouched. It impacts on everybody. It's everywhere. So another study said 1 in 10 South Africans will become addicts in their lifetime, and their choice of drugs is alcohol and dagga. Now, alcohol makes up for 45% of abuse in the workplace. And I think it's important to differentiate between what is abuse and what is addiction. And there's a lot of misinformation about that, or misunderstandings.
Is this relevant to how it actually affects your day-to-day functioning in your workplace?
Because this impacts directly on leakage that employers experience as a result of the substance abuse. And I'll give you an example. I might not be an alcoholic, but I'm a bench drinker. And I go out and heavily drink, not during the week, but on the weekends. So on Monday, I don't pitch up for work. So I just stay away, switch on my phone and don't come. So I'm an unreliable worker, impacts on the workforce, my co-workers, etc.
Yeah. All right. Well, Annelian, just to sort of bring it home for employers, like you say, they are under no obligation to actually do anything about workers who put their business in this position. But what do they do in that case? Do you just fire someone? What are the measures that you actually take to correct the situation if you can? When I say correct the situation, I'm not talking about particularly the rehabilitation of that person, but what's best for your business.
I have a very strong alliance with the Anti-Drug Alliance, and together with them we have formed a substance mitigation program in the workplace, where we say that substance abusers can correct their behaviour before it becomes addiction. And that is by sharing information, collaborating, finding the right information in the workplace. So often what employers do is they drive the problem underground with fear from the employee that they will lose their job, that they will be fired, because employers have a dismissive or a combative view towards substance abuse in the workplace. So if I'm an abuser, rather fire the person, get rid of the person, than to help the person. And that is what we find across the board. Although you find employers that embrace open dialogue, that have substance abuse policies in place that is communicated, where employees will openly say, if it wasn't for my employer and my employer's support in my addiction.
Because it is an illness at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Most of the time it is, especially with
Addiction
something like
is an
alcohol.
illness.
All right,
definitely.
thank you very much. Some very interesting insight there. Annelian van Wyk, Director at Paradigm Coaching. Do you have a comment on the story as well? Well, you can share your thoughts on International Day Against Drug Abuse using the hashtag #StopDrugAbuse.